Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday night. There's only one place to be on a Wednesday night, and that is tuning into the Bottom Line. We've got a great lineup for you. Let's kick it off.
And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're going to get one.
Rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
It is going to be a great couple of hours talking about football, but I guess I can't talk about football by myself. So I guess I got to have somebody else here. So we just as well bring the guys on. So I suppose first I'll bring in the one and the only, the level-headed, the guy who's always toned down, Big Chad.
What's up?
bud?
How we doing?
Pretty good.
You're giving me credit for stuff I don't do.
Well, you got to get it started off somehow. Now, let's bring in Mr. KJ and the sunglasses. How's it going, my friend?
Good evening, gentlemen.
What's up, KJ?
It's cracking.
Before we get started, I just want to give everybody an update. When I talked to Ed on Sunday, I asked him, I said, we were talking about the show, and the one thing that he said was, the damn show goes on. That's all he said before he went in for his surgery on Monday. So the show is going on. He is in recovery, and hopefully, I don't know how long it takes to recover from that type of surgery, but hopefully he will be back real soon. So until then, I guess you're stuck with us toting the mail and talking about football. So without further ado, we need to, because we got a lot to cover. Now that we're into the weeks, we got lots of games, got lots of stuff to look at. So I think what we'll do is we'll jump right into our power rankings. Again, if anybody has comments, where we're right, where we're wrong, we have no problem with that. But I'm going to start off with my power rankings for the SEC going into week 4. And this is how they look. We've got some movers here. We're starting to get stacked up on in the top end. Georgia got a big win over Tennessee, but I didn't drop Tennessee too far because, man, I tell you what, I don't put that loss so much on Tennessee as I put it on Heupel, the coach. up 21-7, up a touchdown in the fourth quarter, run the ball up the middle 3 times, get conservative. I think we've seen that playbook before, haven't we, Chad?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Play
And
not to lose. Play not to lose.
snatch defeat from the jaws of victory is what I always say with that, and I think that's exactly what Tennessee did. But I think Tennessee is going to be competitive throughout. So Georgia does stay in the first spot there. You know, Texas. The problem with Texas, and guys, help me out here if I'm missing something. I am not that high on Texas. And we'll talk about why here in a little bit when we go through the power rankings, but I'm trying to find that second team, and honest to God, I think it's Oklahoma. Even though I have Oklahoma in the second or in the 6th spot, I believe Oklahoma has a chance to be in the number 2. And I'll tell you why. And we'll talk about this. Texas's offense does not scare me. You know, Georgia's in the first spot, you know, kind of by default, but their defense is not what it used to be. Gunnar Stockton did look better against Tennessee this week. You know, LSU, offensive struggles. Did you guys see the rant that Brian Kelly had?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man, he blew up. They asked him a question in his press conference, and he just lost his mind. It was something about something about the offense or whatever. He's just like, did we win the game? Like, we won the game. This is an LSU victory. Like, he just lost.
I forgot what question they asked when they played Clemson week 1, but he had a similar like moment of like hyper, I don't know, defensiveness or whatever.
Yeah.
It was
and I was like, man, dude, chill out. I mean, I understand his angle. I just don't understand his response.
Yeah, I mean,
makes sense.
College football is not the NFL. In the NFL, a win is a win. Ugly win, okay. But in college, you've got to win. You got to win the game. And if you don't win the game, I mean, look at Texas struggling with UTEP. I mean, you can't have that.
Right. If you consider yourself a stud team, a truly top team.
Style points matter in college football. I mean, you could say it doesn't, but it does. It matters. And they just as well just make it official and use it as a tiebreaker.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, it just stop kidding everybody because it is very much a factor in the polls.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with you there. So I'm not too sure about LSU. You know, the win over Florida, you know, 20-10. It's proving that their opening win against Clemson is not really a deal sealer, if you will. So I'm not quite sure about LSU. I still believe they have a top 10 ranked roster, but they've got to put it together a little bit better than they have. Ole Miss, you know, I think we'll get to know a little bit more about them when they actually get into the SEC schedule. You know, they might be a sleeper for one of those top 2 spots. Alabama turned it around, obviously. But Oklahoma, I'm telling you right now, Mateer, that dude's got some game. That dude is a gamer, and it looks like he's exactly what they needed. You know, this week, and we'll talk about this game, Auburn at Oklahoma. That's going to be another good matchup. Oklahoma goes 4-0, and you're going to see some movement. Texas A&M beat Notre Dame. You know, I guess Notre Dame's 0-2. I'm not too sure. I'm not sure how big a win that is. There's problems in Notre Dame. I don't know. But I did move them up a tick. Mississippi State, I didn't really want to penalize them. You know, they are undefeated. You know, Tennessee, I still believe they're going to end up being a top, you know, at least top 6 team in the SEC. And what about the Commodores? What did I tell you about Vanderbilt? They're not going to be a top 4 team. But what did I say? Vanderbilt is going to jump up and beat one of these top 5 or 6 teams.
Yeah, the Vanderbilt really pummeled my cocks. It was not good.
Well, I mean, and maybe South Carolina.
They punched my cocks like there was a clown. I mean, it is not good.
Get them all out of the way. Get them all out of the way. I mean, the thing about Vanderbilt
they're good. My issue with your rankings is really just Texas being at 2 and Tennessee all the way at 9. I mean, yes, they should have won that game and they blew it, but I mean, they took Georgia to the hilt.
Yep.
And where'd you have them ranked last week that you dropped them? I mean, I think they need to be ahead of a bunch of these teams. I think you could be right. Oklahoma could be 1 or 2, and then I mean Tennessee's got to be right there.
I had Tennessee at 9. I didn't move them.
I mean, I'd have moved them up for that loss.
Well, I mean, listen, here's the deal. I mean, and you are, I mean, I complete validity on your point, but I guess I look at my power rankings like this. If you want to be that top 4 team, listen, they had Georgia. It wasn't that Tennessee came clawing back and Georgia was up big and Tennessee came clawing back and they made it respectable. They had them. And Heupel said, listen, boys, we're not ready to beat them. So let's take defeat, snatch it out of the jaws of victory, and swallow it. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, so I guess that's why I kind of left them in neutral, because I'm like, man, you had that opportunity. Had they won that game, I mean, you might have seen them, I don't know, 3-2 maybe even. I might have put them ahead of Texas.
I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, I think they should be ahead of Texas. I mean, do Tennessee and Texas play this year? Because I have a feeling Tennessee's
listen. If we had Tennessee, Texas on the docket right now, I would take Tennessee all day. But I can't. I'm not going to go through at least on the power ranking side of it and hypothetically say, well, if Texas and Tennessee played tomorrow, I think Tennessee wins, so they've got to be number 2. And then, because I agree with you, and I would take Tennessee in that scenario. But like you said, there is style points and there is winning the game. And Tennessee had all sorts of style points going, and then they decided to just stop.
Throw a brick.
throw a brick through thin ice and then jump in the cold water, because that's exactly what they did.
I like that.
It's like, man, we're hot. Let's just take a brick, throw it through the thin ice, and jump in, baby. Like, I don't understand what they were doing.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got LSU up at 3, and they barely handled.
But they're 3-0.
The Gators, who you have at 14. I mean, I understand, but Tennessee is, in my opinion, Tennessee's getting jobbed in here, and so is Oklahoma. They're both getting jobbed in your rankings.
You got to remember, I had Oklahoma bumped up.
Oklahoma's shocking everybody.
Well, I understand that.
Everybody talked about Oklahoma was going to be trash this year.
I understand that, but what I'm going to tell you is this. For the same reason, I can't move Oklahoma – using your criteria. If Alabama was playing Oklahoma tomorrow, I would still probably take Alabama.
I guess my question, Eric, for you, and this is looking ahead of this weekend for a scenario that is very applicable based on your rankings. So, Auburn goes into Norman, is that right?
Yep.
OU's campus to play them this weekend. Let's say hypothetically Auburn pulls off the upset. Do you come back next week and have Auburn sitting one spot above OU at 9 and 10, or how do you address? Who has more to gain, who has more to lose?
Yeah. So the way I look at the rankings, and there's 100 different ways to do it, or at least 3 or 4.
Right.
I kind of look at who they've played, who they've lost to, who they've beat, head to head. If Kentucky were to jump up and beat, I don't know, pick your team, OU or Alabama, they're not going to go from 16 to 8. I mean, you got to see it. The reason why Vanderbilt didn't go up as much is because I think I understand Vanderbilt. Now, I could be wrong, and they could continue to move up. But Vanderbilt is that team where they could come out next week, and I don't know who they play. I haven't looked. They could come out next week and lay an egg against Kentucky. And then they could come out the very next week and beat Ole Miss. So Vanderbilt, while I am really high on their quarterback, they just haven't shown to be a consistent team. I think, like I told you, I think Ole Miss could be a sleeper, unless for some reason Texas wakes up. I don't think Georgia's going to go undefeated. I really don't. They just do not look like they have that defense to just shut teams down. I think Georgia's going to get a lot of good games. They may win a lot of them, but they're going to get a lot of good ones because I just don't think they have the defense that they've had in the past.
I think Georgia could be in trouble.
Yeah, I will be honest with you. That is the shakiest number 1 I've ever put at the top of a power ranking, and I would argue the shakiest number 2.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, completely.
I feel better about your 1 than your 2.
Right, but remember, they lost to Ohio State the first game. They've had 2 wins since then, ugly as they may be. I'm not a big you won, but you have to drop, or you lost, but you have to drop. I'm more apt to, if it was a big game like Tennessee and Georgia, is keep you neutral. A lot of power rankings you see Tennessee dropped because they lost to Georgia.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Or
they
Texas
took them to the wire.
Yeah. Now it was ugly because their style points were rolling, and then all of a sudden it became super ugly for them. But nonetheless, I didn't feel like they needed to drop. Mm-hmm. But with a loss, I have a difficult time moving teams up. Now, when Texas lost, I did drop them to number 2 at that point because they lost 14-7 to Ohio State. That's a good team. That's a net neutral to me. So I just bumped them to number 2. Well, they haven't lost since then, even though they do not look good. Alabama had the hiccup, obviously, but they're sitting at 2-1. I just think that the SEC is so much closer from 1 to 12 than it's ever been. It used to be 1, 2, and maybe 3 separated themselves. 4 through 13 were right in there. They could jump around, and then 14, 15, and 16 were also rants. Well, that's not the case anymore.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see, a Missouri and Arkansas. Don't sleep on the fact Florida has the toughest schedule in the SEC. In the SEC, Florida has the toughest schedule. And I think OU and South Carolina are close behind. Maybe Arkansas has the toughest, then Florida, then South Carolina, then OU. Don't be surprised if Florida on that random weekend jumps up and beats somebody. Even though I have them in the 14th spot. Mm-hmm. Do not be surprised.
I think the parity is a lot closer this year, more on par with the conference like Big 12.
Yes, completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they've played a lot of nobodies too. So, I mean,
yes.
That's why they all have winning records.
Yeah.
They've all played a lot of nobodies.
But I'm going to tell you that
Helen Keller's School for the Blind.
Right. Or University of Louisiana Monroe, 72-0. But what I'm saying is, do not be surprised if these records are a lot more balanced when we get to a certain point in the season, because they're going to beat up on each other. This isn't going to be a runaway. I do not believe this is going to be a runaway for any team. For any team. My 2 sleepers for that number 1 spot are Ole Miss and OU. Could be wrong. A&M looked pretty good, but I think those 2 teams, and watch out for Auburn. I said Auburn, if Auburn goes into Oklahoma and wins that game this week, that flips the script for Auburn. Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat. We talked about at the beginning of the year, but that's an opportunity for Auburn to make a statement. And that would be a
that'd be a
setback
big
for it would.
So are you
know?
giving us a preview of your picks? Are you taking
No, I'm just saying it would be. This is just from an analytical point of view.
KJ, I think he was saying he's saying Auburn's going to go into Norman and upset Oklahoma. That's what he's saying.
It's just an analytical point of view. We'll get a better look at Missouri. They're sitting at 3-0, but again, they did beat Kansas, and Kansas is a better team. Kansas actually had that game, then absolutely threw it away with poor play. But it'll be interesting to see how the SEC, how the SEC rolls, because this weekend I was, looking at the schedule for this weekend in the SEC. You've got pull it up here quick. Come on. You have Auburn, Oklahoma, Missouri, South Carolina. That would be a nice win for Missouri to get to 4-0 because South Carolina is a good team. Florida plays Miami. And those are the only SEC
game.
Yeah. Except the Miami Florida one, but that's a big game. We'll have to pick later. So that is the week 4 SEC power rankings. Let's move on. Anything else on the SEC?
I think you covered it.
I think we got her covered pretty good. Let's go to KJ's Big 12. Take it away, KJ.
Oh, so obviously no change for the Cyclones sitting at the top. I will say, acknowledge, I don't think the win they had this past week in Arkansas State was the most prettiest. But commend the Red Wolves for playing good at their home turf, I guess. That being said, kind of just holding true with most of the teams that are undefeated towards the top. I personally am still not call me biased. I know I am, but I'm not in the 100% in the Red Raiders camp. I think we'll see a lot further clarity on if either team is overhyped, overrated, or fully competent, if you will, with respect to the rankings and such that they currently hold in the CFP AP standings. I think Utah and Tech will be obviously the biggest game for the Big 12 this weekend. And then kind of just moving down, Cincinnati had a dominant win over Northwestern State, but it wasn't enough in my eyes to really move them up much. I did move Arizona up with their win, but I didn't feel like rewarding them too much, obviously, because beating Kansas State, as we've seen so far, doesn't seem to be as much of a weighted win as we thought it would have been week 1 of this year. Iowa State proved that. Sadly, I feel bad for them because their win over them in Ireland is somewhat diluted, I would say, so far through the year. And if Kansas State continues to struggle, it's only going to hurt the Cyclones' credibility at the top. So all that being said, I did drop Colorado, obviously, with us getting the win over them this past weekend. I personally don't think Prime and company played their best game or their full potential capability this past Friday. But obviously, I can't let them stay where they're at with a dominant or demonstrable loss that they had. It wasn't a one-possession game, which is what I think a lot of us, even Cougs fans, thought was going to be the case going into that game this weekend. West Virginia pulled off a good win against Pitt, but looking at kind of how Pitt has played this season, I didn't really feel like that deserved a lot of movement up the rankings, if you will. UCF didn't really play anybody this week, so I kind of held them where they were at. And that's most of the movement's been on, I guess, the bottom side of the rankings this week for what we seen last weekend in play. So,
week 4 bye week for Iowa State comes at a perfect time. You have played 2 rivals in Kansas State, in Dublin, and Iowa in the 3rd week. You boat raced a good FCS team at the time ranked in the top 5. You had to go on the road, which I do not understand why Jamie Pollard did this to the program. You don't see name your school from the SEC going to Ohio or Arkansas State, but for whatever reason, that's what Pollard did. So the bye this week comes at a perfect time for Iowa State to rejuvenate and relax.
Yep,
because then we'll get into the Big 12 tilt.
I think the Cougs are benefiting from the same thing and having a bye also this week. Some would probably have considered, I'd say, Oregon State to be a trap game for us this season, going on the road, not this weekend, but next. But the fact that we got a bye beforehand, I think helps just a couple guys that got minor injuries to get healthy again. And if we can pull out a win on the road, not this weekend, but next against them, I think it'll bode all that much more better for us going in with a fully confident headspace, playing at home against Tech for week 5 or 6, whatever it is. So
yeah, there's actually 2 huge games in the Big 12 this weekend. Utah and Tech, and Baylor and Arizona State. I think the winner of the Baylor-Arizona State probably ends up ranked, and the loser probably is on the outside looking in, sitting at 2-2.
I would be very grateful for that if they're willing to give it to us.
Eric, it looks like John David isn't sold on your Cyclones.
He never is. He likes to dig.
It's not a fully internal game, but the TCU SMU game this weekend, I think, also
right.
will be demonstrable.
That'll be an interesting game. But I made sure and let him know, Chad. Thank God you're on. Notre Dame is a topic because we're going to talk about his 0-2, the Notre Dame Fighting I Wish, here in just a little bit. So let's move.
I would agree. I think even Eric's acknowledging that Iowa State, in a true sense, hasn't played anybody. But just like he stated for the SEC, we have to go off of where we started things preseason, and that's why I'm not going to drop a team halfway or more through the power rankings, especially when they're at the very top, just because they haven't played anybody if they're undefeated.
And I would agree with you, KJ, other than they've played 2 rivals. They haven't played Ohio.
Rival game can always be, the team could play harder.
Because you're playing harder. I don't care who it is. A rival game is a rival game. And Iowa State has had 2 of them already and made a trip to Ireland. So, like I said, this week 4, week 5 for them bye comes at a perfect time for them to kind of recoup and get ready for the Big 12.
Get screwed at the rest. Someone go give John David a hug. This man needs
he must be a Kansas City Chiefs fan too. Here we go. All right, let's go to the Big 10, Chad. There it is.
So the Buckeyes remain at the top, and I don't know what you say, but they won the Battle of Ohio pretty handily. So Ohio State still sitting at the top. Penn State still sitting there. Kind of boring. It's Penn State. It's Ohio State. Of course, they're at the top. That's the way it is, right? So you got Illinois, and Illinois had a pretty dominant week themselves. They pounded a directional school, Western Michigan, and we know those directional schools can be very, very tough. I do have them above Oregon, though. Oregon played a Big Ten team, but Northwestern is down. We've talked about it before. They had a great coach. They fired him for some stupid reason, and now they've suffered for it ever since. That's what you get. I guess I could, do a little bit of research and find out exactly what stupid reason was that they fired him, but they fired him. Rumor is he's a top candidate for the Virginia Tech job. So, so USC's playing a little better than we all thought they would, at least better than I thought they would, especially the way they played last year. It was only Purdue, but they beat them, and they beat them fairly handily, which they should do. In Michigan, suddenly, all of a sudden, the freshman quarterback we didn't think could play might be able to play. He might be able to play a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. Again, a directional school, Central Michigan, but we got to get those out of our system, and they pounded them hard. But he's looking like he's playing a lot better. So we got him up there to Indiana, that traditional football powerhouse, Indiana. They're still riding high from last year, still doing good. Michigan State is finally starting to pick it up. Maybe they're back to life. It's hard to tell with all these, these games against, schools for wayward children and all. But, they, who did they? Oh, they beat Youngstown State, which is no slouch down at that level. They're a pretty good team. Nebraska, they did good. They played well. But I mean, they should kill Houston Christian. So they did what they should do, which made me happy. And the backup quarterback, I don't know if you guys pay attention to that guy at all. He's scary.
Everybody's always favorite player is the guy holding the clipboard.
That dude, he got to play the most of the second half. They brought in the third string guy in like the last few minutes of the game, but woo doggies. I don't know how they keep him next year when Dylan's got one more year eligibility left before he can go into the draft, but it'll be interesting to see. Washington, it's hard to get excited about Washington, especially when they didn't play. But, what are you going to do? They're still a decent team. Iowa, I had to put them someplace,
Chicken Hawks. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Iowa and Rutgers play this weekend to open Big Ten play. I mean, and you do have them back to back in 9 and 10 or
11 and 12.
What is that?
Yeah.
11, 12.
Yeah. So
Is the harvest plentiful for Nebraska, Chad? Do you think
the harvest plentiful?
Is it too early to say that the workers are fewer?
I look across the river. It looks pretty good. I don't know.
There you go.
I'm not going to let Chad sit here and bash Nebraska. I think Nebraska is better than he thinks they are. I know he's a fan, so you're always cautiously optimistic or cautiously waiting for the next shoe to fall. But I'm telling you, Chad, this is going to be a way better season for Nebraska than you anticipate. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think it is.
From your lips to God's ears, I would take that. I'm still looking at 7-8 wins, and that's if they get above that, it's a miracle to me. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's hard to tell. They got Michigan coming in this weekend, so here we are. Here's the litmus test. Right. Dip your stick in there, see what you get for a reading. If Michigan comes in and they let them play Michigan football and just whoop up on us, then
Chad,
Nebraska.
This is how I see it. We're picking Michigan, so I'm not going to tell you that game. But if they beat Michigan, that puts them at 4-0. They play Michigan State 5-0. They play Maryland 6-0. They play Minnesota 7-0. USC will be that tester game at that point when they're 7-0.
A lot of good momentum to go into that.
But let's say they lose that game 7-1. UCLA 8-1. Penn State 8-2. Iowa 9-2. Bud, we'll pick that game, and I'm telling you right now, I'm taking Nebraska.
I would take that, except for you were listing off all those teams, and they have a history of blowing games to all of those teams except for Maryland. That's
Not
it.
this year. Not this year, bud.
I hope so. I don't know. I hope that Rule has ripped the loser out of the DNA of the Nebraska football team, but that is hard to do. I hope he's done it. I would be very happy if he's done it, but I'm not banking on that. So anyway, so that's as far as I'm going to go in this review. I don't think anybody else is really worth talking about at this point of the season. But you guys, would you like to pick on my rankings at all?
I think they're fine just simply because, aside from Michigan, Oklahoma, Iowa State, they really haven't had any like rivalry games or big games to speak of. Well, Ohio State beat Texas, but I mean, there hasn't been a lot of those games. They're coming, Illinois, Indiana.
Got to get into the conference.
That's when things will really start to sort themselves out. They've played a lot of also ran type teams. which is too bad. I wish there was more rivalries outside of, I wish there was another good team in the state of Ohio to give Ohio State a rival, because I don't care what anybody says. Of all the games that played, Iowa State was like the third ranked as far as most viewed. Rivalry games matter.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate part, like for Michigan, is Michigan State isn't that good, or hasn't been anyway.
Hasn't been that good last couple of years, yeah.
UCLA and USC. UCLA is in all sorts of yuck. Oregon State used to be a really good one, but Oregon has surpassed Oregon State by so far that it's a nothing burger. So those rivalry games just aren't there for a lot of them outside of the conference, to matter. So, as far as the Big Ten goes, there's not a whole lot to discuss until you get into week 4, week 5, when they really get into the meat of the schedule.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, KJ.
KJ, do you have any objections?
No, I mean, I think you've already touched on most of it pretty much. I think this week will kind of you'll have influencing factors from a couple of the matchups this weekend and beyond that will likely shake up what rankings you have currently in place if there are any upsets. So.
Right. All right, KJ, let's go through the ACC real quick. Get that pulled up here. There you go.
I had pretty good movement here, also kind of similar to the Big 12 in the bottom half, but I had to give Georgia Tech a nod just because I feel like they're still doing well. I didn't feel confident enough to throw them in front of Florida State, even though the Seminoles didn't play anybody this week, or this past week, I should say. But I could definitely see them surpassing them if they continue on the roll they're having right now with wins. I kind of reviewed North Carolina's strength of schedule after determining with Clemson falling again that they deserve to move up. SMU, similar kind of thing as Florida State, didn't see much reason to move them up based on where they're at. And I don't think they played this last week, or if they did, it was a nothing burger game. Moved up North Carolina just due to their strength of schedule. Obviously, with Pitt losing, had to pull them down some. And then the biggest, I guess, ironic one I think was with Stanford and Boston College being I'd say the biggest ACC game that was internal, at least this past weekend. They got the upset, but then, you look at Stanford's schedule, they lost to, Hawaii, I think, or something.
Yeah. Opening weekend.
Neither of them I could give much credence to getting, a win in, and obviously already having still a losing record just kept them towards the bottom, in my opinion. I don't think Duke's shown really any sign of being heavily competitive whatsoever. And then the Hokies, obviously, they're at the bottom because they haven't been able to pull off a single dub all season. We'll see. I guess the real question mark that, it's probably in most people's minds who are ACC fans is, how long can the Hurricanes hold on to the number 1 spot? The fan in me would be rooting for Georgia Tech, but I can't recall what week, if any, they play this season. But we'll see. I mean, obviously they're rolling right along. I think the Hurricanes' next couple games are fairly favorable. They whooped up on South Florida pretty easily last weekend. I think some of us thought it might actually be a close game. They kind of shut up the naysayers on that one, I think. And, Florida could be a good game this week, but I guess we'll find out, obviously. How
Georgia Tech's toughest game the rest of the year will be the last week of the season when they play number 5 Georgia.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do not play Florida State. They do not play Miami.
Right.
So the way the schedule sets up, Georgia Tech could be sitting in the driver's seat of the ACC.
Yep. They definitely, to your point, though, I think they would have to go undefeated to maintain their ranking and possibly have a chance to move up. NC State would be the one I'd argue might be a trap game especially since they're playing on the road. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, it is pretty much a fairly
And
big game.
unfortunately for Miami plays Florida this week. Then they have a bye. Then they play Florida State. So, I mean, Miami is kind of in – I mean, they must win. To me, Miami must beat Florida, and they must be either Florida State or Miami has to win that game. And then I think they win out. I think the winner of the Florida State-Miami game, I'm looking at Florida State's schedule right now, just looking to see what they have on the docket. They play the powerhouse Kent State this weekend. I mean, realistically,
FSU's
Georgia,
got Florida at the end of the year, but I mean, that could be two.
they got who?
They have the Gators at the end of the season, so that could be one that.
Yeah. That could be one that, that could be a trip up game. That could be something Florida goes into it already out of, nothing to play for other than, bragging rights and let's take it to Florida State and screw up their season if they happen to beat Miami. But I say this is a really top heavy conference.
Agreed.
Maybe you could go 4 teams deep. It'll all sort itself out. But I mean, I think it's 3 teams and everybody else. That's what the ACC is. I know UNC's schedule's not real tough, but I don't know. I still see them slipping up and losing to somebody that they shouldn't. But time will tell. So let's get into the topics here. And since we know John David is on here, let's just get right into one of the topics for the week. And that is, should Notre Dame be out of playoff talk after week 2? I have my own opinion, but Chad, I'm going to let you kick this one off. Because if I kick this one off, John David's going to blow the comments up. So I'm going to let you kick this off. And then we'll go from here.
Who?
John David, the Iowa State fan.
Who are we talking about?
Notre Dame.
Who's that?
Here we
Yeah,
go.
they're done. They're done because they don't have the games to come back. They got games to play, but they don't have any games except for USC that can even possibly move the needle a little bit. They lost both of these games. These were their 2 games where they could make their mark and then hopefully be able to helping that USC is good later in the season, being able to beat USC. Now they lost these games and they are cooked. I mean, they got Purdue for the battle of, part of the battle of 2/3 of Indiana, but then you got Arkansas, Boise State, and Boise State's not Boise State.
No.
They get NC State, who's meh. You got USC, and they're hoping USC is good, but then you got BC, Navy, Pitt, the Qs, and then Stanford at the end of the year. And it's like, you don't have the games to come back and justify making the playoffs. You don't. I'm sorry, John David.
Well,
Hurt your feelings, but
this is exactly what we've talked about. When you do not play in a conference, when you are not a part of a conference, you do not get involved with those games that it's ranked team, ranked team, ranked team.
Right.
yes, I agree. I agree. But 7 years ago, when these schedules are being made,
Right.
and you
agree.
have Boise State, you have an SEC team in Arkansas, you got USC, Stanford's usually good, and Pitt is hit or miss. So, I mean,
Certain
you
things
had
you have the foresight for, to Chad's point. Yeah.
2 or 3 teams that you were going to count on as being good in the remainder of the schedule.
Right.
Is bad. That's why I hate setting these schedules up 7-8 years in advance. I hate it. It's stupid because everybody thinks that they just made this schedule this winter in the off season. No, they didn't. These are schedules set years in advance. There's hardly any flexibility to them, and you're stuck with who you're stuck with. So,
and if I'm not mistaken,
taking Boise State was a gutsy call 7 years ago. That was a gutsy move. Because, that's probably a home and home, maybe. And to want to go and play in the mountains in that blue field, that's a gutsy move if they're Boise State, and they're not Boise State.
But if I'm not mistaken, and KJ or Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, if they wanted to get a team off the schedule, do or do they not have to pay them for it?
I don't know.
Future years, I would think if you've already signed the line, you probably committed to a scheduling thing for the future. Your point, you'd have to.
Now, I don't know if it's all the money or
Right.
whatever the value of the contract or a percentage of the contract, but I know I've heard somewhere, and somebody in the comment line, if you do know, let us know, that if you break that contract for a future scheduled game, that you were on the hook for some of that money. Okay. Here, this is what I'm talking about. This is the bias that we talk about all the time. Went out and in. We are Notre Dame. Conference means nothing anymore. All we need to do is get back in the top 11, and according to Herb Street, if Notre Dame wins out, they will be in. Well,
that would be their prayer that they get that large bid.
I would say that if that were the case, then there is huge bias in college football.
I would agree.
Huge bias. So
unless one of these teams in their schedule or two of these teams end up in the top 15 at the end of the season, then that's different. But who's that going to be here besides USC?
And we don't. I mean, yes, Ryan is there, and it appears that he has the defense going, but we don't know if USC's turned a corner.
Yeah, we don't know.
Have they looked better in the first 3 games? Well, yeah. But again, Colorado School of Mines and stuff like teams like that, you should look better. Once they get into the meat of the Big Ten schedule, how does USC look? Are they even still in the top 25? Are any of these teams breaking the top 25? I mean, other than USC, who's in at 25 right now, on Notre Dame's schedule, tell me what team you foreshadow breaking the top 25. And as I look through it, all you get is this. I just absolutely do not see one. So how is college football, other than a name, other than bias, going to justify putting Notre Dame in the playoff if they do win out? I don't see how they can. And that would be a clear bias.
Yes.
Back to the days of everybody complaining that, well, if so-and-so loses, here comes Alabama with 2 losses into the bowl championships. It was 4 teams or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it was like every angle to try to get Alabama in there.
Yeah. And John David, I mean, even if you do win out and nobody in the remainder of the schedule pops to be good, name or not, John David, do you really feel you should be in there? Or do you want to go playoffs? You want to go into the playoffs and get just bitch slapped by some team on national television, and then everybody goes, "Oh, see, I told you shouldn't. They shouldn't have been in the playoffs." I mean,
Notre Dame has issues.
If Notre Dame is their own conference, then so far the conference of Notre Dame is 0-1 against the SEC and 0-1 against the ACC. So from a power conference standpoint, you don't even look good. Not to dog on you, but you're going to use that line. I got to hold you to your own logic.
Right.
Your point and your question, Eric, I would say I was looking through the schedules here briefly. Outside of everybody they have left to play, and this is like the longest of this is the longer shot than Notre Dame going undefeated, in my opinion, is if Arkansas somehow runs the table in the SEC and puts up a miraculous showing. Honestly, if you look at their schedule, it's a gauntlet.
Right. They have the toughest schedule in the SEC.
Right. But if they somehow turn into Jesus Christ Immaculate and on the table, then you'd have at least two teams you could argue have ranking and are teams they beat. But I mean, that's in my eyes, that's the only way you could even justify including them at the end of the year.
Well, and I think the unfortunate precedent that you could set is this. If Notre Dame loses their first two games to probably the only ranked opponents they're going to play this year, even though USC, they don't play USC for what, 6 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe USC still ranked at the time, maybe they're not. But if you put Notre Dame in like that, you are all of a sudden going to see that whole adage of let's cupcake this up. Let's cupcake this up. Because we are Alabama. Let's not go out and get Ohio State, or let's not go out and get whoever. Let's keep University of Louisiana Monroe on our schedule so we can guarantee ourselves 4 wins.
And add more.
And add more. Let's do that. Because we're Alabama.
Let's get rid of a couple of conference games, and we'll add some more.
Yes,
but
they're going to take care of us. They'll take care of us. They're
Southeast,
just,
Northwest, Pennsylvania. I mean,
yeah. There's just no way that Notre Dame, I don't care where they went out, should be in the playoff. There's
that's too much airtime for them. Let's move on.
Yeah, way too much airtime. Okay. Next topic, and we addressed it a little bit when we were going through the SEC power rankings, but I know this is a hot topic around everywhere. Is Arch Manning just bad? I mean, here's a kid that came into, this year as the anointed starter of Texas. Texas, preseason number 1. Big opening game against Ohio State. They lose 14-7. Everybody says, well, you got to understand, Ohio State just reloads with 4-star and 5-star players. Okay, I can buy all that. And they lose. That's fine. And in my rankings, I dropped them to 2. But they have played 2 opponents since then, and they simply have not looked good. And Arch looks terrible. UTEP game this past weekend. Threw for 114 yards on 11 of 24 passing, I believe. Had a 25 QBR.
26.5.
Oh, sorry. 26.5. I do not want to short him.
Don't shave that part half off, Eric.
Well, I think he could ground the football every time and have a higher rating than that.
Yeah.
I mean, now, we've said this before and I will say it again. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever come into college football with more pressure than this kid. But
Agreed.
Sad but true.
When I watch him play, it is like the game, he's going too fast for it. It's when you're pulling those passes and he's dirting so many passes. It's like everything's just going too fast. And I know last week we talked about, could there be a potential injury there, with the whole shaking of the hand and stuff like that. But I don't know. Like, when I watched him, there were passes where I was like, I feel like my 47-year-old body completes that pass. He had the time, he had the lane, and he's unable to do it. I mean, what am I missing here, KJ? What am I missing?
I can't contest that much. I don't know the inner workings of the donor board of the University of Shorthorns, but my stepdad made a funny jab this weekend about Archie's dad and maybe even Peyton having money filled, money in the pockets of the either head coach or other athletic directing folks of the team to be able to still have him in the lead spot right now because of how much he's struggling. I don't know. It is sad to watch. Yeah.
Well, it you know what this says to me? All last year leading up to the playoffs and in the playoffs, I kept saying, if you remember, Texas can't win with Quinn Ewers. They cannot win the national title. They've got to change. They got to put Arch in there. They've got to put
there's
Arch
all
in
the justification in the world of why they kept Ewers in. Like, and I even said that last week. It's
Well,
like if he didn't
Well,
come out,
I think they knew.
right.
Maybe they knew if it's not an injury, if that's not what he's dealing with, and he's just not as good as everybody thought, then they didn't put him in because Ewers gave him the best chance to win.
Right.
And that's what this says to me. Now, I'm still hoping it's an injury. I'm still hoping that there's something wrong with his elbow or his hand or his shoulder or something, because I want the kid to be good. I'm not a hater, as the kids say.
No.
I want the kid to be good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look.
Has no reporter asked said question inside any of these last 2 weeks post game interviews with?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if they have or not.
You think the SEC guru might know that?
No, I have not seen any interview with him. I watched his interview today, in fact, and the interview today, all he kept saying was, I have to get better. I know I'm better than this. I mean, he repeated it a couple of times, but there was no direct question that indicated, you know, hey, are you injured? Or is there something going on that we're seeing? None of that.
That to me is equally alarming. It's like to assume that no reporter would have the gumption and awareness to even just, you know, probe the question just to see.
Yeah.
Okay. Clear the air here so we can
check it out.
Throw that concern in the trash. And the fact that nobody's asked it either means that they all know something we don't in the positive, or once again, I'm going to go to the conspiracy theory mindset of, are they getting paid to not ask the question?
Yeah, right. Right. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right now, Arch Manning is just bad. And I think when they get in the SEC schedule, he's going to get exposed even more if he cannot get this on the tracks quickly.
Yeah.
If he cannot get on the tracks quickly, they are in trouble. Speaking of trouble, did anybody see this man's interview the other day? I think it was yesterday.
No. What old Dabo do?
If they want to fire me, that's fine. If they don't want to win, that's fine. We've won the conference like 7 out of 9 years. You know, if Clemson doesn't want to win, they can fire me. I'll go get a job somewhere else. I mean, he just let them have it. A reporter asked him said question, and Dabo just said, yeah, that's fine. They want to get rid of me. I'll go win somewhere else. 7 out of 9 years, we've dominated this conference. That's fine. If they don't like to win, I'll go somewhere. I was just like, whoa.
I respect the not giving a damn. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you know,
well, yeah. I mean,
if anything, it speaks to his own humility to go, well, I guess combo of pride and humility to go, look, I know I'm not Nick Saban, but I mean, I'm not chopped liver either. Like, you know,
right.
Take it or leave it. Yeah.
I think everybody, you know, at the beginning of the season, everybody's like, Dabo's philosophy is paying off. He's recruiting and going through there, and he's not touching the portal, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
You know,
chinks in the armor starting to show.
We talked about that, but the chinks are showing because, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the way the portal's set up, but I am a fan of the portal because what it allows happens is, you know, if I'm the starting left tackle for said team and Chad is a 4-star sitting behind me and I'm a sophomore and he's a freshman and Chad knows he's good. I know Chad's good, but I'm the starter, so I don't care. Chad's not going to sit around for 3 years behind me to play 1 year anymore like they used to.
Right.
So this gives Chad an opportunity to get out in the portal and get to a team in need of a left tackle, his services, and be able to play his sophomore, junior, senior year. Okay. I have zero problem with the portal the way that it's set up. What I do have issues with, and I was actually hoping that Dabo's philosophy would somewhat work, because I do think there's a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of turnover in a lot of teams. I mean, what they say, 70 players with UNC, and Colorado went through that, whatever. You lose school loyalty. Kids don't come to Houston, for example, KJ, because that's where I want to be. They come to Houston for an opportunity, and if they don't get it, they're out. They don't care about the Cougars on the front of their jersey. They don't care about it on their helmet. So we've lost a little bit of that. But if you break it down to the individual, in the example that I gave Chad, he deserves an opportunity. He just happens to be, we're at Alabama. He just happens to be number 2 behind me. And Alabama had that for years with Nick Saban, for years. Mm-hmm. When did Saban get out? When the portal started rolling, all of a sudden he's not 2 or 3 deep. When his number 2s would compete for a national championship, but they had ones ahead of it, now all of a sudden they're not deep, and a few injuries here and there all of a sudden showed vulnerabilities in Alabama that they weren't used to. Now throw nil on top of that, and you've made the situation even tougher, especially for college coaches. So I think Dabo was trying to keep it the way it was, to try to avoid some of those things. And I'm not saying the philosophy is bad. Maybe they just haven't done a very good job at it, or maybe just – but when you have a lot of colleges that have basically said, and I can't remember whose interview I was watching, we've got 20 high school kids on. We're looking to maybe put 3 or 4 more on. Well, that number used to be a lot higher. That translated to me was, we got 20 high school kids on now. We're looking at the portal. We're looking at the portal. So I think maybe Dabo's thinking, and I can't speak for him, but this is how I would be thinking if I was in his shoes, because so many schools aren't looking at high schoolers. I'm going to go out and get those guys, and I'm going to keep building the program. They're going to be Clemson guys. I'm the one that gave them a shot when none of these other guys are, because of the portal. But this year it really looked like he had a roster that was really going to compete in the ACC, and it's just not.
The flaw with that is your 4s and 5 stars, they're still getting recruited by everybody. It's those borderline 4s that are 3s, and the 3s that make up the heart of your team. Those are the guys that aren't getting recruited as heavily, I suspect.
Well,
and those are the ones he can get, but how big of a difference are they going to make?
You're correct. You're correct if you're talking about Iowa State. Clemson is not one of those teams that's an Iowa State. Iowa State has to go out there and fight for every guy.
What I'm saying is other teams, Texas, Ohio State, they're still going after the 4s and 5s. They're still going after those.
But there's plenty
they're
of 4s
not
and
going
5s
to the
out
3s. They're not going to the low 4s.
Right.
And if he thinks he's going to go and poach those, that's all well and good. But I'm just saying, are those 3s and low 4 stars, are they going to make the difference?
Well,
or would you be better off grabbing kids out of the portal?
But
that's
what you're assuming is that Clemson is not pulling in 4 or 5 stars. They are.
That's not what I said at all.
No,
you said
he's just saying fully forsaking any focus on those lower tiers.
Yeah, you're saying that other schools aren't going after the high schoolers as much, and I'm saying if they're leaving ones behind, they're Ohio State, Texas, USC. They're still going after the 4s and 5s, just like Clemson. They're just not going after the low 4s and the 3s. And so then Clemson can then just pirate those. That's all well and good. But are those kids going to make the difference, or are you better off going after somebody in the portal? That's what I'm saying.
So I looked at Clemson. I looked up Clemson's 2025 recruiting class breakdown. And I wish I had time to go through and see what the past years have been. They have 1 5-star, 6 4-star, and 9 3-star players for the class of 2025 in their recruiting class.
That sounds like a low. That's not very many 4s and 5s.
Well, that's
maybe there aren't very many 4s and 5s throughout the country.
that might be the case. Maybe I was overestimating the number of 4s and 5s that are out there. That could
I have no
completely
idea.
be.
Who
I
was
wouldn't
it
know.
that we had on several weeks back earlier in the summer? I forget the gentleman's name. The recruiter. This makes me think of a good question to almost ask him. He spent obviously time both in the pros and college scene. It's like, what in his eyes, I wonder what he thinks the statistical odds are in which, like, to your point, Chad, a 3-star ends up exceeding their recruitment grade, as they proceed through their seasons in college career, to kind of see, okay, what's that like gamble percentage I need to make on the lower star ranking guys to maybe grab 1 or 2, diamonds in the rough kind of thing. Like how much.
And there are teams out there, I mean, my team included, that have taken those 3 stars and made them 4 and 5 stars in the time that they've been there.
Right.
Because that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
We don't have Ohio State money or Texas money, and we don't have the trophy cases of the other teams to be able to do that. So that's what Matt Campbell has to do. And I think that's what Dabo Swinney is trying to do, but it's not working for him. It's just not working.
Yeah.
So, okay, because of time constraints, I've got one more here. This one's for Chad. At the bottom line, wants to congratulate Coach Kirk Ferentz of the Iowa Hawkeyes on becoming the winningest coach in Big Ten history. 206th victory came against UMass this weekend, the powerhouse, University of Massachusetts, but a victory nonetheless. So congratulations to Coach Ferentz, and the Iowa Hawkeye fans. Chad, would you like to jump in on that, or are we good?
Attrition.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say he's out on that.
Attrition is the key there. He's just survived longer than everybody else.
Well, he's been there since what, 98?
He's done just good enough to keep his job. Well,
he was the beneficiary, I would say. Listen, his program from 2000, I would say 2000 to 2007 was the heyday of the Hawkeye football program. They had Banks. They had a really good run. They missed, being undefeated thanks to my Iowa State Cyclones one year. They were 11-1. And then I think didn't they beat LSU in the Fiesta Bowl?
Something like that.
Can't remember what year that was, but it was in that time frame. So,
I think they beat Carson Palmer in a bowl game after he won the Heisman or something also. It seems like I vaguely remember Iowa fans bathing in that for a decade or more.
That could be. I know they got beat by Leinart and Reggie Bush in one of those years. But the fact that they were there, said something for the program too. So, but you're also talking about 18 years ago. 18 years ago.
Yeah.
The heyday of Hawkeye football. So, all right. Time constraints. Here we go, boys. These are some good games this week. Some of them are pretty tough. So let's start out. Number 17, Texas Tech, 3-0 at number 16, Utah, 3-0. Utah is a 3.5-point favorite. KJ, you are mulling this one over. Who you got?
I'm going Utes, man. I can't in good conscience just root for the tortilla throwers. I'm sorry. And
I'm going with.
I would root for my state, of course, but
I am simply going with Utah because of the home field advantage. I think this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend. I went back and forth, but I was like, it's at Utah. Give me Utah. Chad?
Yeah, give me the Utes.
And I have Ed's here, even though Ed is not here. He did send his picks.
They're sealed in an envelope, correct?
I didn't look at them.
The nominees are.
I told him he could send them to me, but I will not look at them. Maybe he texts them to me, but I want to get his on here. I'm pretty sure he sent them to me. Here we go. I got him. Ed took Utah as well, so that's a clean sweep. Okay. Another big game of ranked teams is number 22 Auburn. Going to 3-0, going to number 11 Oklahoma, who is also 3-0. Oklahoma is a 6.5-point favorite. I'm going to go first, and I am taking Mateer and Oklahoma. Chad?
As a Nebraska fan, I hate to do this, but Boomer Sooner. I think they're back.
Ed took Oklahoma as well. KJ?
Man, this was one of the closer ones for me in terms of evaluating their stats and attributes. Really, for me, when it comes down to quarterback play, though, I think Auburn holds the advantage here. Mateer or Mater, however you pronounce his last name from OU. Okay, but I mean, his interception ratio to touchdowns thrown through the first 3 weeks of the season to me is like a major red flag. And I just referenced back to week 1 when Jackson Arnold literally ran all over Baylor like it was nothing. And I get it. Week 1, sometimes the team's rusty. You're still working out chinks. But, I mean, they had demonstrable success against a Big 12 opponent. And those are easier teams, but I got to root for them for the upset here, I guess.
Going with Auburn. Big Mike has Texas Tech and Auburn. He's picking against the field. Come on, Big Mike. Next game up. This is going to be an interesting one because we don't normally have them up here, but they are 3-0. Number 21, Michigan, 2-1. 1.5-point favorite at Memorial in Lincoln, Nebraska. The Huskers sit at 3-0. Chad?
You're making me do this.
Do it, buddy. I know you want to.
Oh, God. I just got sick. Until I see it, I can't pick them. Give me Michigan.
Oh, my goodness. KJ?
Man, when I look at team stats and everything, there's not a lot. I mean, whilst I'm not going to dog on Michigan for being a bad team, really, to me, the only strong suit position they have to argue on is like their ground game. Outside of that, I mean, I think Nebraska's done better. Now, their opponents may not have been as more difficult as, obviously, Michigan's already played Oklahoma. But I just have to wager with Nebraska on this one, too. I think the home field advantage may be the difference maker.
Ed went with Nebraska, and I am going with Nebraska, Chad. Come on. You got to just nut up, man.
I know my
Big Mike
boys.
is taking Michigan.
I think your lover scorned mindset with your favorite team, Chad, is totally screwing up how you're picking the odds.
Could be. All right, next game. Florida, 1-2 at number 4, Miami. Miami is only a 3.5-point favorite at home against Florida. Give me Miami and the points. I'm taking Miami. Ed takes Miami as well. I'm learning Ed's as a going here. KJ?
Yeah.
My high school alma mater is the Fighting Gators. But I'm going to do the Pat McAfee shuffle and you all day.
KJ takes Miami. Chad?
Give me the Canes.
And Big Mike is finally on the board with the field, and he is taking Miami as well. Okay, our last college game. Number 9, Illinois. We've got I see three really good games here for sure. I mean, I think all these games are going to be good. But when you got 2 ranked teams, 3 of them in conference, 4 of them, Miami, Michigan, and Nebraska. These should be some really good games. But let's do number 9, Illinois, 3-0. They're 4.5-point favorites at number 19, Indiana, who is 3-0. This is the later game on Saturday. And Chad, I went first. Chad, who you got, Illinois or Indiana?
Give me the Fighting Illini.
The Illini.
Going on the road for the big win.
KJ?
I'm just a perennial underdog fan, I guess. I got Indiana.
KJ and Indiana. Ed has the Illini. And I
Big
have
Mike.
the Illini.
And so is
Big Mike. Big Mike
You
goes with Illinois. I feel better about my pick already.
Who you got, Brett?
Brett, who you got, man? Illinois, Indiana.
He's
Can't
gonna be
wait
like,
too
"It's
long."
not SEC. I don't care.
Yeah, he's like, it's not the SEC. I could care less. Move along. Don't care.
Bama by 50. Right. That's
Okay, so it looks like KJ has gone on the proverbial limb on 2 games. So either he will be 2 games ahead of me next week, or I will be 2 games ahead of him. I did not put these up at the beginning, but there's where we stand. I am 22-12. KJ is 22-12. Ed is 19-15, and Chad is bringing up the rear at 17-17.
For the record, folks, it's not that one-dimensional. We still have NFL picks to do. So as simple as Eric likes to make it, that's not holistically the case.
No, because last week in the NFL, I rolled. Oh, Brett says Illinois. Brett's got Illinois. And he's got Bama by 50 in the bye week.
Called it.
Called it. Nailed it. Okay. That is the end of the college segment. We're going to bust into the NFL. Let me get that banner down off of there just for posterity. We're going to get a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, it is NFL time. Mike, I think you're right. I think we should be keeping track of these just to see where the fans come in. And so, Mike, I like that idea. I'm going to start it this week for you. So Big Mike has Texas Tech. Big Mike has Auburn. Big Mike took Michigan. Big Mike has Miami. And Big Mike took Illinois. Brett, you didn't get all the picks in because you were late, so you don't get to be in it this week. But Big Mike, you are definitely in the college pick'ems, so we'll see how it goes. If you win, it'll be the last week that we do it, just to let you know. Okay. Moving along, we do not have Ed's power rankings as he is occupied at the moment. So for time's sake, we're going to jump right into some of the hot topics we want to take a look at. And for time, I think I'm going to jump around here a little bit. But the first thing, and I noticed a lot about this during the game, and I've seen a lot about it after the game. A lot of people talking about it on different social media platforms and different shows. Should the tush push die? It was a big topic. I think a lot of people watched the Kansas City Philadelphia game. I think we all saw, the close-ups of the Eagle guards going first before the ball is snapped. But I'll ask you, and KJ, I'll start with you. Should the tush push die?
I struggle with this one, I guess, because I want football to be unique compared to other sports like rugby, even though they have their similarities. I think putting too many things together makes us, indicative of that. But at the same token, as most of us, anyone in my generation or older, which both of you qualify, most notably Eric, but
In your generation?
anybody in my generation or older is what I'm saying.
Since you're the oldest person on the show,
has
Eric.
seen the
Yeah,
progressive-
right. Shut up. I'm not. I got to point that one.
has seen the progressive, deterioration or decline in the ruggedness, true physicality of the sport. And from that standpoint, I would say keep the tush push in because it kind of honors that component. But I mean, I can honestly understand people's argument from either side. I don't know.
Brett says get rid of the dang thing, ban the tush push. Where are you at, Chad?
I don't exactly understand how you're supposed to ban it. How are you going to write that rule to ban it? To make it illegal. Second, if they're jumping off sides, then the refs need to throw the flag. If the refs can't tell if they're jumping off sides, that's on the refs. That's not on the offensive team.
Sure.
Just throw the flag. If the refs aren't positioning themselves so they can see if anybody's moving, then you need to get yourself positioned better. But if you can't position yourself better, how in the hell did you make it become an NFL referee? So I think you just enforce the rules that are currently in place. If an offensive player moves before the ball is snapped, that's a flag. If a defensive player enters the neutral zone and causes an offensive player to move, that's a flag. If a defensive player enters the neutral zone as the ball is being snapped, that's a flag.
I'll say this:
Just
in
the game as it's called.
In the mindset of consistency, if they choose to ban the tush push, then they need to subsequently ban any of these plays where they have a smash mouth running play. Both teams make contact, and then you see like a 5-yard progression because there's a scrum with the lineman mixed in there. They push the running back another 3 to 4 yards or whatever. That should be equally flaggable as much as a tush push is, in my opinion, because they're facilitating the exact same purpose. If you're not going to ban both, then you have no right to ban the tush push.
Yes.
Just on the principle of consistency alone.
I will tell you, it was this weekend that got the tush push ban for next year. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I will tell you why. Because now they have the angle to ban it.
What's the angle?
The angle is that they're going to use, right or wrong, and to your point, Chad, I get it, just officiate it. But officials have positions. So unless, your side judge, back judge, white hat, umpire, they took the umpire out of the middle of the field and put him behind. Okay. It used to be in the middle of the field. Now they put it behind. They only have two options after this weekend because here's what's going to happen. They're either going to say, because of the positioning of the officials, it is too hard to officiate. It is too tough to see which helmet exactly went first and so on and so forth. Another angle is it is too hard to see where the football is at. So by that definition, maybe you don't even have a penalty, but the officials are just guessing with the pile of people there, because it is a pile. Very rarely is the ball visible. Again, I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm simply stating how they're going to frame it. We have no way.
Generally,
Go ahead.
Jalen Hurts' body is on top of his offensive linemen's bodies.
Twice.
So you can see where the ball is at.
But twice this weekend, you could not see it. They did not have an angle anywhere to really tell. In fact, on one of them, Kansas City claimed he fumbled the ball. How do you even review it? You don't. So,
how do you write the rule?
Listen, I'm not disagreeing.
I think to your point, that makes even more clarity on like if it's not a clear and concise pushing of the tushy, like they can flag it, like, and that would be the language.
What's the hinging of the rule?
What they will say,
the offensive linemen have to be X number of inches apart. Nobody can push the ball carrier from behind.
Let them play.
That's what they'll do. That's what they will set guidelines up.
To KJ's point, then when ball carriers are running down the field and defenders stop and hold them up, and offensive linemen come in behind and start blocking, that is then a penalty, and you have to stop.
It's going to be language to some extent of any player assistance of pushing from the rear will essentially draw a flag.
And that may be the guideline that they use to get rid of it. But I'm telling you, this weekend, and here's the thing. This is being a Bears fan. This is the kind of thing that irritates me, because now on social media platforms and Nick Wright and those guys on the national platforms that are Kansas City fans, they're whining. They're whining. The refs missed this. The refs missed that. That could have been a game change. Listen, as a Bears fan, A, I don't want to hear it. And B, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, if you actually watch their games and you observed how many things are no calls, especially going back to that Super Bowl with San Francisco, where I could point out 6 holdings that would have changed the trajectory of the game for Kansas City. When they got a first down on 3rd and 7, when they shouldn't have got a first down, it should have been a hold. I mean, don't talk to me as a Bears fan about how screwed Kansas City got this weekend. I don't care.
Agreed.
To me, I could care less if they ban the tush push, and I could care less if they keep it. I'm just coming at the angle of what I think they're going to attack it with, and they're going to attack it with it is too hard to officiate, from the spot of the ball to whose helmet moves first. They're going to use all those angles. And to your point, KJ, they may say things, and I think Chad pointed it out, they may say there is no pushing from behind at any point in the field. Or they may say there is no pushing from directly behind the line of scrimmage. See, now that changes it if a runner's 7 yards down the field and you come in and push him for or you push him for a first down. The verbiage on how they word it, how they're going to do it, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I clearly think that because it was, if this was Philadelphia, Tennessee, we aren't talking about this. But since it was Kansas City, since it was Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City and the NFL's golden child, this is being brought up. If this happens to Tennessee, nobody's talking about it. The tush push is full steam ahead. But since it was Kansas City, my belief, this is why it's now in the headlines, and all the national media on Fox Sports 1 and ESPN, they're all talking about it because it happened to Kansas City. And that shouldn't happen to Kansas City. If it happens to the Bears, move along, quit complaining about the refs. When it happens to Kansas City, oh, yeah, you're right. It's not fair. So that's why I could care less if the tush push gets taken out or if it ever stays in. I'm more irritated about the fact that Kansas City Chiefs and anybody else are complaining about it when I could show you benefit after benefit after benefit for the last 6 years where Kansas City should have been flagged at big points, and they were absolutely not. and watch my team get flagged at big points, and they absolutely are. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
Eric, the problem with that is the league doesn't change the rules. The teams vote on it, and from what I understand, the vote wasn't close.
It was 22. 22 teams voted to keep it, which means 10 did not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what I'm saying is
that's going to take a big swing in teams.
It's going to take. It's going to. I think they'll have to have 7 change to votes.
That's a lot.
And they're talking about this. They're talking about a lot of owners that were on the fence, but they're just like, this may be the way they get it done. And I firmly believe if they do, this was the weekend that it died.
Yeah. This was also week 2, and there's 16 more weeks to go with buys, and it's all going to be forgotten until next year. Well, then you're saying this is the turning point. I have a hard time believing this is the turning point.
Well, this is the turning point because now every single time they run it, guess what? The camera's going to be close up. Did any helmets move first? I mean, it's going to be magnified. And there's going to be times where it doesn't get called from here on out that they're going to point to it and say, that was a false start and it wasn't called.
I think what you're going to see is the opposite. I think you're going to see offsides on the offense called more than it actually happens.
Maybe. You could be right.
I think that's the way they're going to try and get rid of it. Instead of legislating it out, they'll ref it out. So you try and run it, and they'll just start calling offsides on the offense.
That could be.
And
that could be the NFL's way of getting rid of it.
But they back them up 5 yards, and then they punt or they kick a field goal or whatever. And I think that's the way they get rid of it more than changing the rules. They just referee the shit out of it.
It's possible, but one way or the other, they have the tush push will be either to your point, Chad, they will officiate it out or they will vote it out. But I think this weekend was the one that really put on the spotlight because it was Kansas City. Again, I don't care what they do with it. I don't believe in penalizing a team for creativity. I really don't.
I don't agree with getting rid of it either. I think it's fine. I'm sure I'll get mad about it if it costs my team something, but I mean, I'll say the same thing. Stop it. And if the offense moves, then throw a flag. I mean,
yeah, but apparently it's because of the positioning that they're unable to really see who moved. But that also brings me to another point. That is why I believe that because, and the one thing is fans that every single one of us forget. We all forget this as fans of the NFL. The NFL is a business. Bottom line. Period. End of story. We're in it as fans for the competition, rooting for our teams and hoping for wins and losses. The NFL is in it to make money. Period.
They're really good at it.
And they're good at it. So when we see things and we're like, you and I as Bears fans, 2 plays in the Viking game that really hosed us, that were called against us that weren't what they were. Why can't the NFL, if it truly cares about the fans, why can't the NFL say every penalty can be quickly reviewed? Now, your false starts and the neutral zone infractions and those types of things, I get it. But holding penalties are huge. Pass interference penalties are huge. Targeting, they review every targeting. I mean, why can't you take
targeting in the NFL? There's no targeting in the NFL.
Or defenseless receiver. Sorry, it's not target, it's defenseless receiver. Okay. You hit a receiver going down to the ground or catching them.
They don't review that. It's just a penalty or it's not a penalty. They don't review that at all.
I thought they reviewed that penalty.
No.
Or is that only college?
That's just
college. That's just college. Okay. So it's just a penalty. So what I'm saying is those big penalties that can be drive killers, that can be game changers, why can't they just take a quick look and say, ooh, not holding. Hey, Biff, that was not holding. He tripped over his feet. Upon further review, it's not holding. It's a first down. That takes literally seconds. Okay.
Because it's the same thing on why it was so difficult to get. KJ's too young to probably know this or remember it, and Eric is much older than myself, so he'll remember this easily. But it was very
We're not even the same decade.
when challenges were come about. Is they never when they had the booth challenges, so they just had it where the ref in a booth reviewed it by himself and he could overturn it, and he never overturned it because he didn't want to do his boys dirty, so he would back every single horrible call. So now you're looking at them doing that on offsides or holding.
That's why you have an independent guy, not a part of this the officiating crew.
Well, dude,
just like
be old referees, they're going to be referees that are doing it, so they're all going to know each other.
Dean Blandino's not an old referee.
Planes, they're going to see each other at the airport. And they're going to be like, George, what the fuck did you do me dirty like that? You overturned 4 of my calls tonight. You're
Don't
making
suck.
me look bad.
Don't suck.
Well, that's not going to be the response.
That's what it should be.
I think I don't disagree with you, but I'm in this place called reality, whereas you're dipping your toe in this place called utopia, and utopia doesn't exist. Reality does.
Wouldn't take very much time. Mike Pereira or Dean Blandino, that wasn't a hold.
They're getting paid too much money to criticize refs now. They're not going to.
I don't know. The UFL seems to make it work. I'm just saying. Maybe the UFL is just better.
It's nobody's and it's nothing. Sorry. I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings. Sorry if that hurt.
There he is, KJ. You know,
sorry.
Shouldn't even have brought it up because that's how Chad is.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
you guys don't want to hear about my Australian rules football team playing in the playoffs.
Listen, I watched it. I didn't criticize it.
You watched one game.
So I watched several games.
Oh.
But they're on at like 3:00 in the morning, and I don't have time during the day to freaking watch them. Jesus. I mean, KJ?
You're muted. You're muted, KJ.
KJ, turn your mute off, bud.
I subscribed to the ELF's secondary TV app subscription for their whole season. I was watching European Football League all through the summer, so I can definitely spread the love around outside of the
right.
European football is not Australian rules football. Australian rules football is for men.
It clearly ain't rugby either, and I would argue that's more physical than all of them.
Rugby's just crazy.
Yeah,
those guys are just straight up fucking crazy.
They're crazy.
Anyway.
Okay, moving on. Is it panic time in Kansas City? We've talked Kansas City a little bit as far as the tush push goes. Now we're talking about Kansas City, who's sitting at 0-2. 0-2. The first 3-game losing streak going back to the Super Bowl for Mahomes in his career. Is Kansas City who we thought they were at the beginning of the season?
What I would say is yes. So my concern for them over the last few years, I keep saying this when we talk about Kansas City, when they traded away Tyreek Hill and they lost all the big play dynamic of their offense, and they got by on defense and doing just enough on offense because Kelsey was still viable and good. And then last year they limped through and squeaked through and made it. I still don't know. It was magic, and it was mirrors, and it was smoke. I don't know how they did it, and you can't pull it off more than once. So I just don't think their offense is dynamic and explosive enough to do what they need to do to win.
I think, KJ, and tell me if I'm wrong, I saw something in that game between Kansas City and Philadelphia that I don't think I've ever seen before from Kansas City. I saw desperation. I saw Kansas City go for it on 4th and 1 from like their own 30-yard line. Tell me in the last 6 years where Kansas City has ever done something like that. Now, maybe they have and I missed it. But tell me where Kansas City has ever thrown, because Andy Reid kind of fell on the sword for his team a little bit and said, this one's on me. I got a little aggressive and it backfired on us. Is that a signal that even Andy Reid is saying, ooh, we might be behind the 8 ball a little bit?
I would definitely say it's a sign of the times. I don't know if it's too early still to definitively say they're exactly where we thought they'd be, because I think, at least in my recollection of our conversations, and I remember Ed speaking on this, but I thought there was more of a mindset that they would be, still in the framework to make like a wild card spot, for instance. And
yes.
If the season were to end today, they're way, way outside of that margin. So, I mean, being at the very bottom of the division, you can't really, there's nothing to say there aside from they've got a long uphill battle to even be in that semblance of a position. Granted, they're only one or two games down from that second spot, but that requires the teams to lose too. So
here's what I'm talking about. I think this is why we put the Chiefs in at least a wild card spot. We said they needed to go 1-1 in the first 2 games. I think when we went through their schedule, I think we gave them 1-1. They lose to the Chargers. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Chargers. They lose the Eagles. They're 1-1.
Right.
Okay. They now have next week. They now have the Giants. Okay. What Russell Wilson do you get? I mean, do you get the Russell Wilson from week 1 or do you get the Russell Wilson from week 2? Who knows? Then they play the Ravens. And ironically enough, guess where they get the Ravens?
In Kansas City?
In Kansas City. How is that? They got them in Kansas City. I still would give them a loss in that game. Then they play the Jaguars. So let's say they beat the Giants, lose the Ravens, beat the Jaguars. Okay, that puts them at 2-3. Then another big game against the Lions. Guess where that's at?
Kansas City?
In Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
So let's say they win that game. They're 3-3. Then they've got the Raiders at home, which they split, so they'll have to play there. But then they have another big game against the Washington Commanders. Now, the Commanders haven't looked great this year, but, maybe by that time they'll have it figured out. It's on the 27th of October. Guess where they play the Commanders?
In Washington?
No, in Kansas City.
Oh.
All right.
It's a repetitiveness.
The only game that when you look on their schedule that isn't a home and away with who's in their conference, so the Chargers, Broncos, or Raiders, the only big game on their schedule that would be considered is they do play the Bills in Buffalo on November 2nd.
Well, that's pretty big.
It is a big game, but of the 5 or 6 big games they have on their schedule, every single big game is at home except for the Bills game. So, go ahead, Chad.
Away from the schedule, I would like to go back to the Eagles game for just a minute. And Andy Reid knows he's got this great quarterback, and he's in love with him, and I don't blame him. I would be in love with him too. But he forgets the basics of football. They ran the ball 19 designed running plays. I'm removing Patrick Mahomes 7. 19 running plays as a team. That is terrible.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Nobody has to worry about the run. You're just going to throw on every down. You just have to defend the pass. You don't really have to worry about him running. I mean, he's got to bring if he wants to throw the ball, he's got to run it. I mean, that's basic football. You either run to throw or you throw to run, and they throw to throw.
Right.
They don't throw to run the ball. They throw to throw. So if he wants to help his quarterback out, who's going to be missing the number 1 target for several more weeks on suspension, and your 4-1-2 40 guy who busted up his shoulder and probably not going to play for a couple of weeks, and all you're left is an old guy out there with a walker at tight end and a bunch of nobody wide receivers and Hollywood Brown, you better do something to help this guy out. If you want to be able to throw the ball to those guys, then you need to run it. And he's got to give Pacheco and he's got to give Hunt. He's got to let him run the ball.
Yeah. Listen, the old adage of what we don't get in the first quarter, we'll get in the fourth quarter if we keep pounding it. Kansas City does not subscribe to that. Not one.
He did the
bit.
same thing in Phil. He did the same thing in Philly all the time. He'd take McNabb or Vic, and he'd just throw, and forget he had Shady McCoy in the backfield who could just tear it up, and he would just throw on every down. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Britt, I don't know if you missed last week, but I actually picked against the Texans because I knew or was confident they probably weren't going to win the game against Baker. So even I know they suck. You're not surprising me with anything. This is the Cougars hat, by the way, just because it's not a Texans hat. So I promise I'm a realist when it comes to the NFL, and it is definitely not priority number one. So
Okay. Enough about Kansas City. I'm getting lightheaded.
Yeah, that's 2 topics in a row.
Yeah, that we had to talk about Kansas City in, half and half. So injuries are starting to stack up already in the NFL early on. Okay, who's affected the most? So I've got a list here, and I don't have them all down, but I do have some notables down, and I will let you guys talk about it. Probably the most notable, Burrow looks like he could be done for the season, potentially. He had surgery. Yeah, he had surgery on Monday. I believe it was a toe. Brock Purdy is down in San Francisco, but I did hear reports today that there is a possibility that he plays. Turf toe or something like that, I believe they mentioned as his deal. George Kittle seems to be a broken record with San Francisco, was put on IR. So I believe he misses at least 6 weeks with a hamstring. 4 to 6 weeks, I think, is the IR. So they'll be without his services. Justin Fields for the Jets is out with a concussion. Don't know if it's going to be multiple weeks, but usually it is. Khalil Mack dislocated his elbow. That was kind of ouch if you were watching the game. And the breakable, J.J. McCarthy is out multiple weeks, 2 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Which one of those, and I know there's others, but which one of those affects their team the most? Chad, I'll let you start.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, he was their whole team because they gutted and screwed the defense. So to pay his receivers, and now they don't have anybody to get his receivers the ball.
Not to mention their Swiss cheese of an offensive line. Let's not.
Yeah, they don't do anything with the offensive line.
No, ever.
Oh my God, it's insane. The guy who could be the best quarterback of his generation is just going to keep getting hurt over and over again because they won't put a line in front of him.
You could literally have completely different, like, Super Bowl look come the end of the season if 2 teams in opposite conferences would just freaking staff their offensive lines. It's like the simplest fix ever. You could have a Houston Cincy Super. Well, I guess that wouldn't be a Super Bowl, AFC Championship, and it would be a 9-day difference from what we're used to seeing. But certain teams are just stupid when it comes to certain position groups. I guess I don't know.
But the problem with Burrow individually is this. I think Burrow needs to go back and review tapes of Tom Brady. He needs to go back and review tape of Peyton Manning. And he needs, because of the line that he has been given, and he needs to understand more so than throwing passes in practice, more so than working on handoffs in practice. I think Joe Burrow needs to work on ducking. I think Joe Burrow needs to work on getting down. I think Joe Burrow needs to understand when this play is over, I need to get down on the ground. I realize he's a competitor, and I'm not even joking about this. I realize he's a competitor, but he, as Chad said, is too important to this Cincinnati Bengal football team to be getting hurt like this. I mean, he was in traffic. He had no chance of getting out, but he tried to get out. And he got rolled up on, or his foot got underneath the guy, whatever. When he got in traffic like that, it should have been just like, hey, I'm just going to sit down here. I'm giving myself up.
Yeah.
The old Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Oh, this play's dead. I'm tucking it. Yeah. But Joe Burrow hasn't gotten to that point yet. But he needs to take a long look in the mirror when he gets back from this, whenever it is, and say, listen, I've got to protect myself.
Well, in that scenario, in Joe's defense, Joe is, although Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, and Peyton Manning is probably in the top 10, he is leagues more of a better athlete than they are. It's not even close.
100%.
True.
So he thinks I can get away. The thing is he's going to be like Joe Namath. His body's going to take such a beating that he's going to be.
Don't say that.
Or Dan Marino, and he's just going to be gimping around. I mean, Dan Marino could, when he was younger, he could move around the pocket and do shit. His legs took such a beating, he couldn't even shuffle in the pocket anymore.
It's gonna be Dion with the crooked fingers or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but I think
Dion with a half a toe, with a half a foot.
Yeah, and I know, like I said, Joe Burrow's a competitor. I get that, but seriously, take a long look in the mirror. Understand what you have.
Especially, he needs to look at it and say, okay, they're clearly not going to help me out with the offensive line. So what do I have to do? And he needs to go to the O coordinator, who I think is the Taylor, the head coach, and he'd say, I can't throw long passes. We don't have time.
Excellent.
They've got to be hit. They've got to be fast. They've got to be slants. They got to be quick outs, quick ins. They got to be hooks. They got to be swing passes. None of this 20, 30 yards down the field. We can't do it unless you're going to dedicate a tight end and a running back on every play to help the offensive line.
100%. You just can't. You've got to give him.
If you're gonna have, as whoever you said it, the Swiss cheese for an offensive line.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Can't be done.
Anyway,
I think,
get the ball.
as y'all stated, the whole effort of him to making a better focus on protecting himself is infinitely beneficial, not just from his standpoint and maybe for the Bengals, but long term too. God forbid nothing changes. Even if he does all this himself, you're still protecting your own capital, if you will, across the league. Like, why not?
You're so much more valuable on the field than you are off.
Right.
In Cincinnati, and Mike Brown are gonna screw over another amazing player who Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who has the talent and the capability of being a superstar and win Super Bowls, but refuses to put a team around him. Mike Brown needs to turn over. He's not any better than Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. He needs to move over. Okay, your dad was Paul Brown. Paul Brown was one of the greatest minds in the history of football. You ain't your daddy.
Mm-hmm.
You need to sit your ass down and let football people take care of this. You need to sit down and say, I don't know anything. You guys do it. Because he's a moron. Because he thinks he's his dad and he thinks he can do all this shit. Just like the two idiots in Dallas.
So I agree with you with Joe Burrow, but I knew that was the obvious answer. I took a different angle on this.
Okay, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
I think that J.J. McCarthy's ankle is going to end up being a really bad sprain, because I can see a Sam Darnold scenario happening all over again with Carson Wentz. I do not think Carson Wentz is a bad quarterback. Minnesota has weapons. And in 2 weeks, they will have Addison back. He will be throwing to Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. Now, they did lose Jones. I believe he's done for the season. I think he went on. Maybe he just went on IR.
I think he just went on the 4 to 6 week.
Yeah. Yeah. But Wentz is going to have weapons. If he comes in there and lights it up, because let's face it, J.J. McCarthy has looked terrible for 7 out of 8 quarters. If Wentz comes in and tears it up, what are they going to do? I think this is beneficial to Minnesota. Just like, because I'm not a McCarthy fan. Not that he's a bad kid or anything like that. Not that he doesn't have moxie, whatever it is. But, dude, he looks like a fish out of water. -1 quarter. So, what if they say 2 to 4 weeks for his ankle sprain? Carson Wentz comes in. Minnesota looks like Minnesota last year. What do you do if you're Kevin O'Connell?
Well, I think last year, if you believe J.J. McCarthy is the guy, then you learned a lesson from last year, and that is you can't trust this broken down veteran, this first round pick, broken down veteran who is a has-been and who you coach through until it counts, and then they crumble and fall apart. You get him back out there and he takes his lumps, J.J. McCarthy. You learn. You throw picks. You get your ass beat. You get up and you go at it again. You have to learn. That's why I know I don't want to bring it up, but everybody was bragging about Caleb Williams last year and how few interceptions he threw. And I kept screaming, that's bad. He needs to be throwing interceptions as a rookie and learning so that he learns now instead of later. And the crippling mind of him not throwing picks is hurting him to this point. And they need to get McCarthy out there and see if he is who they think he is. And if he's not, then they know they can move on. But Carson Wentz is not the answer. Sam Darnold was not the answer.
All I'm saying,
I understand what you're saying. There's a difference between, Kevin O'Connell's job is safe. He's not sure they want to win now, but his job isn't linked to getting to the Super Bowl this year or fired.
correct. But KJ,
Clearly, he's one of the best coaches in the league. Go ahead, KJ.
So KJ, Minnesota goes 4-0. Carson Wentz. They got Brian Flores and a great defense. And Carson Wentz comes in and does some Carson Wentz things. They go 4-0. What's it like in Minnesota? J.J. McCarthy's healthy. They bring J.J. McCarthy in week 5 of him coming back, and he has a 40 QBR again. Now what? Are they willing to do what Chad said, or is Carson Wentz
Getting put back in.
I mean, I'm just asking.
No,
I mean, realistically, other than the quarterbacking situation, Minnesota is in a win right now scenario. They truly are. They have the defense.
I
They
understand,
have the
but
offensive
if they
defense.
thought the problem with that is if they thought they were in a win the Super Bowl now scenario, then they should never have started this season with J.J. McCarthy, and they should have never drafted him to begin with if they thought that's where they were.
I can't disagree with that, but here's the deal. What if in training camp, Kevin O'Connell thought, we can win with this kid. But the first 2 games out, he has not looked good for 7 of those 8 quarters. And all of a sudden,
I would say that he needs to take the mindset of perceiving the temperament of the room, I guess, metaphorically speaking. And I say that to say, how much does he feel he's in the hot seat? Because if he's not in the hot
he's not
seat,
in a hot seat for sure.
then I would say you still, one game, I think you got to give him, especially coming back from an injury, to your point, like give him the chance to still work through his quote unquote sophomore year and see how things go. But I don't know. That would be my point of view on the matter.
I don't know. I'm telling you.
Because I know Carson, and for as much as you may claim and make the statement he has the ability to light things up or what have you, when the going gets tough, he crumbles like any other saltine cracker in the box. And I mean,
Could be.
it's
But
just
if they're
the facts.
4-0 under Carson Wentz and JJ comes back and you've got 2 games, and I know it's only 2 games, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I can hear Minnesota fans already.
Minnesota fans love JJ McCarthy so much. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't
Every
But-
single one of them is in love with that young man.
But they've got a 2-game slate and not very good.
I mean, he's got the Tommy Kramer number. He's drinking a 6-pack before the game, just like Tommy Kramer.
Listen,
So they
Well, it's not the
They-
same team. I mean, I will say there used to be another team that was led by Mr. Wentz, and we can all just thank the good Lord above that he got injured when he did, because another guy took the helm and won in that very same venue they play every weekend, or week in, week out in, against, he who shall not be named, who we all know, who's retired.
what I'm saying is,
Was at that Super Bowl.
JJ McCarthy is who I thought he was, at least early on. He is. He comes from Michigan. Yep, he won a national championship. Great. But you come from Michigan where you run the ball all the time. The passing has been not good. Okay, on the overall, it has not been good. He is not seeing things. He is telegraphing things. Passes have not been good.
he's been a rookie.
Well, yes. But if Kevin O'Connell thought he was going to come in and Jaden Daniels it, but then through the first 2 games, he's like, ooh, this doesn't look like Jaden Daniels. This looks like, somebody else, Anthony Richardson. And Carson Wentz just went 4-0. Does Kevin O'Connell have the stones to pull the trigger on it?
Well, earlier you said, if he saw in training camp what he wanted to see, and I think clearly the preseason told us what he saw, what O'Connell saw in training camp.
Because
And
his
that was
philosophy
the
is not to play as starters in preseason games.
Yeah.
I get that.
No, he knew that he JJ wasn't very good. He was seeing it in practice, and he's like, I can't put him out there in preseason. We're gonna catch hell. And I think that's why he played so little in the preseason when he should have been playing every frickin' down he could. Clearly, he needed it. And I just think O'Connell was like, I'm just going to hide him until the regular season and then say a prayer and say my Hail Marys and my, my rosary beads and do the whole tap dance. And it's
God
not
said
working out.
no, or not yet.
But if, again, that leads me to my initial point, if Carson Wentz comes in O'Connell's offense and tears it up, because we thought we knew Sam Darnold, he went 14-3. Carson Wentz comes and tears it up and looks 3 times, 4 times as good as JJ McCarthy. Does he have the stones to pull the trigger and say, we're going to roll with Wentz here for a little while?
No.
I don't know. I just don't think that
They moved up to take this kid. Kevin O'Connell says, this is my kid. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to make him a star.
Yeah, the Bears moved up to take Mitchell Trubisky too. And how did that work out?
Yeah.
Anyway.
You're proving my point.
I'm just saying, you can be wrong moving up to take kids too. I mean, it's
That's what I'm saying is he doesn't want to admit he's wrong. There are very few people who will admit they're wrong about that. And San Francisco is one of them. They were like, well, we traded up and made this big trade, gave away all these picks to move up and take this quarterback. And then we got this other snot-nosed kid is Mr. Irrelevant. But guess what? Mr. Irrelevant's way better than the guy we traded all this crap for. I guess we're gonna go with the Mr. Irrelevant and bench the guy we traded everything for.
Yeah.
Not very many people have the stones to admit they fucked up.
correct.
And correct themselves.
That's why I'm wondering if Kevin O'Connell has those kind of stones.
No,
if
he
it happens
doesn't.
that way.
That's what I'm saying. He won't do it. He's going to roll JJ out there and pray that he gets hurt so he can put Carson back in if that's what happens.
All right. We'll see. Time will tell. Okay, real quick, as we're running out of time. Coaching hot seats already. I've got 5 of them. I don't know if there's any more that are out there. There could be some sleepers as far as that goes. McDaniel in Miami, I think he's all but gone. He's in his 4th season. He's 28-25. They're 0-2, and they look like a really, really bad 0-2. They go into Buffalo this week. If this game turns into an absolute thumping, I'm not sure McDaniel makes it through the year. Anybody disagree with that?
I don't know if he makes it through the first 5 games.
That's what I'm saying. They get thumped by
the
Buffalo. He could be gone. He could be gone after this game.
Yeah.
I mean,
They'll do
seriously.
it. They've done it. They've fired coaches.
They've done it,
They will do
and
it.
they will do it again. So I think
Yep.
McDaniel probably has the hottest of seats out there. I think this is only a coaching hot seat because I think this is his last year anyway. Brian Dable in New York, 18-34-1, 0-2. Russell Wilson had a resurgence this past week, but I don't think that's a oh, he's back thing. I think that was a flash in the pan. I think we saw that with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh as well. Honest to God, I think I almost put Mike Tomlin on this list because, and I will tell you why.
Okay.
How long since Ben Roethlisberger? Okay. How long has it been? Okay, you slip into the playoffs at 9-8 or before they went to 17 games, you slip in at 9-7. What did you do? You didn't do anything. And their calling card in Pittsburgh has always been what? Defense. Their defense has given up 32 and 31 points.
Okay.
I mean,
can I make you look like a fool?
go ahead.
Okay. So as we are all aware, in my 56 years of being alive on this planet, and you're older than me, Eric, so you should know
No, I'm not, but anyway.
that in my lifespan,
Still hate you, KJ.
they have had 3 head coaches.
I get it.
No.
It's not their MO.
Let me finish. They've had 3 head coaches. And between 1979 and when did Cowher win his? 2000 what? 2005, 2006,
Yeah,
2007.
somewhere in there.
No later than 7.
So for 25 years of that, they did not win a Super Bowl. And did they fire Chuck Noll? Nope, he retired. Did they fire Cowher? Nope, he won a Super Bowl and retired. So you think, and Tomlin's already won one. So you think that they're going to fire him for not winning another Super Bowl yet? You're crazy. They won't. Continuity is their lifeblood. They hire coaches. They don't make mistakes when they hire them. They are not going to fire this dude.
You could be correct, but I'm telling
25 years.
he should be on the hot seat. He should be.
25 years.
Okay. Chuck Noll won how many? 3, 4? 4. Okay.
Our 1-1.
79 was the last one, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then Cowher won one, and
Yep.
Tomlin won one. So Cowher won one, didn't win one after that. Tomlin's won one, well, with Roethlisberger. But
Cowher won one at the end of his time.
Okay.
So he went without winning a Super Bowl for what? 15, 16 years before he won one?
Yeah, probably.
And then he retired. So they put up with him not winning a Super Bowl for 15 years or whatever it was. So I don't see where I just don't believe that he's on a hot seat. In fact, I think he's got ice packs sitting underneath of his seat with an air conditioning unit shoving cool air underneath of it, because Mike Tomlin would be without a job for exactly half a second before somebody hired him.
Probably
He
true.
would be walking out of the building with his box full of shit, and somebody would come up and grab the box out of his arms and say, "I got a job for you, buddy." And they would be walking out the building together.
Yeah, and you probably are correct with that, but I guess I look at the hot seat as like it's not working anymore. It's not. Tomlin's not working anymore. They tried to
That's what they
patchwork
said halfway through. That's what they said halfway through Cowher's tenure, and then he went another 7-8 years before he won one.
Do you see Mike Tomlin winning another Super Bowl at Pittsburgh?
Why not?
They can't get offense right. The only time Mike Tomlin got offense right when the offense was already set up for him. And that was Roethlisberger, and that was early on in his tenure at Pittsburgh. It's the only time. When Roethlisberger said, "I'm done," they haven't been able to get offense right. They've been drifting around that 9-10 win, get into the playoffs, lose in the first or second round, and we're out. I mean, realistically, that's what they've been. He didn't create the offense that won the Super Bowl. That was already there.
Okay. You tell me. Chuck Noll was a coach from 1969, the year I was born, to 1991. So he won his last Super Bowl in the 79-80 season. So he went another 11 years without winning one, and they didn't fire him. He retired. Bill Cowher, 92 to 2006. So he goes 13 seasons without winning one. Not one. Didn't win one. Then he won one and retired. He didn't win one in the beginning and then go 12 or 13 years and then win another one. He didn't win any.
When did Tomlin win?
Tomlin won, what was it, 07, 08? So he started as the head coach in 07. He's the coach now. So, I mean, did he win one, a year or 2 years into his? So
Was it
2008, 2009,
Yeah,
he won the Super Bowl. That sounds about right.
that sounds right, I would say. So maybe we can agree that he's not on the hot seat, but he should be.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. I'm gonna admit my bias. I have a big man crush on Mike Tomlin.
There.
I mean, okay.
So I just don't think he's anywhere near a hot seat. I think that he's got a
But do you think he should be?
Do I think
Take
he should
your
be
bias
on-
away. His defense has given up 32 and 31 points in consecutive weeks. He hasn't been able to get offense right since Ben Roethlisberger left. Should he be? If it wasn't Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, if it wasn't Pittsburgh, would Mike Tomlin still have a job?
You know,
At that same team.
I'll give you who should be on the hot seat in Pittsburgh. The GM who's been unable to get him a quarterback in the last 8 years. That's who should be on the hot seat.
It could very well be. But
I mean,
offensively, Pittsburgh has not been able to get it right since Roethlisberger left. Not even close. Not even close.
And I'm saying that's That's the problem. They haven't had a quarterback worth of crap.
But now
And
they have the highest paid defense in the league, and they give up 32 and 31 respectively.
that's a problem.
That's a problem. So while he's probably not on the proverbial hot seat, my contention is he should be. Anyway, other coaches on here: Callahan with the Titans, second season, 3-16, not good. Canales, Carolina, we all know Carolina, and Kevin Stefanski with the Browns in his sixth season. I just don't see the Browns going anywhere, but I think those are the 5 names that I have on the coaching hot seat. But because of time, we can't run this completely over. We have to get to picks, and we've got to roll through this. So, first game, LA Rams 2-0 at Philadelphia 2-0. Philly is a 3.5 point favorite. Who you got, Chad? There are problems in Philadelphia offensively.
This is tough.
It is tough because of that.
Give me. It's not winter. It is a noon kickoff.
It is.
That's tough for a West Coast team. It's not going to be cold. Give me the Rams.
Chad's going with the Rams. KJ, I'm going to take the Eagles. Let me see who Ed's got. Ed has the Eagles as well. KJ?
I'll go Eagles as well on that one.
So Chad's on the limb there. Next game, Las Vegas. Let me get it put up there. I'm sitting here reading it. 1-1 at Washington. 1-1. Washington is a 3.5 point favorite on that noon game as well. I'm taking Washington.
Is Daniels playing?
I don't. I guess I better look that up.
I don't know if he's playing.
I thought they said he was playing. Because he's dealing with a knee. He didn't practice. He won't practice earlier than Friday as status remains day to day. See, man, what an unfair game now.
Yeah.
What an unfair.
That's what I was like, ooh, that's what we're picking?
Well, I'm still going to take Washington. It's at Washington. Geno Smith likes to throw a lot of passes to the other team. I'm still taking Washington. I'm staying with it. KJ, I think Ed has Washington as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna err with Washington also, just on the quarterback premise, I think, alone.
Washington's defense is playing a little better this year as well. So if it was last year, I might not do it.
So let's
Big Mike. Big Mike has the Rams. Got to keep track of it. Big Mike's with the Rams, and Big Mike is going with Vegas.
So the questions I ask myself are, is Washington going to be smarter with this star quarterback, young quarterback, than they were the last time?
Right.
Will they sit him or force him to play with a bad knee?
Right.
Is any of this echoing from the past?
Very well could be RG3.
If they decide that they don't want to RG3 his ass, you realize who they're going to start at quarterback, right? Marcus Mariota.
Hmm.
Who you got, Chad?
Give me the Raiders
The Raiders.
with authority.
With authority. Okay, next up, Denver 1-1 at the LA Superchargers 2-0. I still can't believe LA is a 2.5 point favorite at home.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense with how they've played, but KJ, who you got?
Give me the
Denver
Chargers.
or LA?
Going Chargers.
KJ's going Chargers. Ed's going Chargers. You, Chad?
I'm praying to the football gods above that the Chargers remember that they took a really talented running back in the first round, and they're going to decide to finally give him the freaking ball.
They are throwing at a substantially higher rate than last year. Big Mike has
Substantially
Chargers all the way.
is an understatement.
Understatement.
That is an understatement. Give me the Chargers.
So that's a clean sweep. Along with Big Mike, that's a clean sweep. Next game, Arizona 2-0 is a 1.5-point favorite due to all of the injury that has all of a sudden taken San Fran. However, the backup Jones came in and looked pretty good against the New Orleans Aints. They face off in a divisional matchup. Arizona, 1.5-point favorite. Ed took San Francisco. There is a chance that Brock Purdy plays. That came out today. But because I took Washington with the chance that Jaden Daniels plays, I'm going to take Arizona simply because I don't think Brock Purdy is going to play.
You're taking Arizona.
If it was the other way around, if Purdy was playing, even if Kittle wasn't playing, Purdy was playing, I'd take San Francisco. But I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah, give me my Cardinals.
Big Mike also has Arizona. KJ, what's your feeling, bud?
Honestly, don't think, as you already pointed out, but I even some of his highlights back when he was still with the Pats. I think Mac Jones is a relatively reliable backup. So I feel like I can still take a risk or flyer on San Francisco with this one.
Okay. Last game, Monday night. Detroit, 1-1. At Baltimore, 1-1. Baltimore is a 4.5-point favorite at home.
Yeah.
Who you got, Chad?
Give me the loins.
Wow. KJ?
I'm going Ravens on this one.
Yeah, I also have to go with the Ravens. Baltimore's a different animal. Got to get Big Mike. Big Mike is going with Baltimore must win.
I would agree, too. That's a response game to their
100%.
deflation in Buffalo.
100%. Buffalo must win. Must win big time. So, with that being said, that is the picks. It's only 10:23. We only went a few minutes over normally the way we go. But that will do it. We've got our picks locked in. We've got a big week of football. It starts with Thursday night. Who's playing Thursday night? Who is playing Thursday night?
Give me one. Dolphins, Bills.
Oh yeah, the slaughter that will be Thursday night football. So if you miss that game, don't feel like you're missing anything. I'm going to give you a heads up. Miami is a mess, and Buffalo is going to just absolutely stomp them. Yeah, Mike, I would take Buffalo too, but we didn't pick that game because I think it's what is the spread on that game? 12? 12? We try not to pick 12s, Mike, but I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think I would take Buffalo in the points in this game.
I think I would take Buffalo in the points also.
Yeah. So, with that being said, make sure check us out on Facebook, The Bottom Line Podcast, on YouTube and X. Give us a like, give us a follow. Any type of comment you want to put on there. We enjoy during the show. We enjoy the comments. I know a lot of you people watching do not comment, but if you have the opportunity, certainly comment. I'm sure there's plenty of crap you could give Chad throughout the show for some of his wild takes, like last year when Arizona was going to win 13 games. So, right, Chad? Right, Chad?
Wrong.
But
At your advanced age, being you're so much older than I am, I give you some slack because your brain just because
dude, we weren't even born in the same decade. We're not even in the same decade.
I know you were born in 59.
When I
1959?
turn 50, that is when we will be in the same decade. And then shortly after that, we won't be in the same decade again. Okay. I hate you, KJ, because
Yeah.
Don't
I had
be
passed on the
hating.
street and someone told me y'all were 9 years apart. I'd call them an effing liar. I'm sorry.
Don't be hating us. You better be hating on mom and dad. Mom obviously got up too fast.
You got the wrinkly genes. Yeah.
The who got the wrinkly? There's no wrinkles here. What the hell are you talking about? This is shiny. I got my hair yet. Look at Chad.
Shiny from
his are receding. His are receding like a bunch of cowards. Look at that. He's got a huge forehead.
Hey, some people have
It's not as big as Ed's. It's not as big as Ed's. But listen, he does hair club for men because he's trying to keep his hair because his brother-in-law will be all over him. I don't do that.
Listen to this with a guy that has more grays in his beard than Santa Claus. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It is clear. It is clear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, you are correct. We are only doing 5 games, Big Mike, because it must not be a very good week. Ed tries to keep it somewhere between even and 3.5. Sometimes 4.5 if we just can't find it. We don't want to pick games just to pick games. We try to pick the tough ones. So that's just how it worked out this week, but I'm sure it will change as we go. But with that being said, we got to get out of here. We'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central. No matter what, we will be here. We'll see you next week.
And that's the bottom.